It is better to die fighting for liberty than to remain a prisoner every day of one's life. This is possibly the greatest portrayal of the Ukrainian War of Independence against the Russians. For this reason, there are anonymous brave Ukrainian army soldiers who participate in important tasks on the battlefield. Aside from the unidentified champions, we should remember the foreign battalions in the ranks of the Ukrainian army, as well as the elite Chechen squad of Ichkeria that battled against the Russians. There are many Chechen warriors in the Legion group that supports Kiev and fights in the Ukrainian army in order to preserve Ukraine's independence and to shake Russian leader Vladimir Putin from his seat, if feasible, and these courageous fighters are still engaging in numerous operations for Ukraine in the Donbass region. Even Chechen fighters serving for the Ukrainian army do not hesitate to take part in the most intense battles on the front lines. Their warrior character and bravery protect them from these concerns. The deployment of such a force in the Ukrainian army impedes Russian expansionist intentions in Donetsk and Luhansk. The greatest recent illustration of this circumstance occurred in the Luhansk area. Chechen forces in the Ukrainian army carried out a midnight raid in the Luhansk woodland. A huge Russian armored convoy consisting of 6 Russian tanks was blown up in this daring action, which was carried out in an unexpected moment for the Russians. Indeed, the valiant Chechens battling for Ukraine earned a historic victory. Chechen warriors fighting for Ukraine, who dealt one of the most devastating blows to the Russians in recent memory in just one night, also managed to neutralize a number of Russian soldiers. The invading forces were originally perplexed as to what to do in this unexpected midnight ambush operation that grew remarkably quickly. When artillery and gunfire boomed through the Luhansk woods, the invaders recognized what was going on, but it was too late, and the Chechen men fighting for Ukraine had succeeded in bringing the name of the Free Russian Legion organization back to the forefront. Hello and welcome to Economic News. Please like the video if you are enjoying it so far and subscribe with all notifications turned on by hitting the bell icon so that you won't miss any of our future videos. Now, let us get back to the video. The majority of these Chechen fighters are first or second generation Chechen refugees who escaped the oppressive leadership of Ramzan Kadyrov, who emerged as Putin's dictator from the post-Soviet Chechen wars launched by Moscow in an attempt to eliminate independence. Moreover, less than 5 Chechen battalions are fighting for Ukraine in the Ukrainian army, and the number of combatants is growing by the day. Chechens believe they fight for Ukraine because it offers the best possibility of liberating the nations they refer to as the Russian yoke. Some who have lived in Ukraine for a long period of time say the country also allows them to practice their Muslim faith freely. Some Chechen battalions fighting on the Ukrainian side on the most dangerous and bloody fronts are maybe less well known than they should be, in contrast to Kadyrov's forces who appear to have been pushed to the back when Russia initially attacked eastern Ukraine and unlawfully seized Crimea in 2014. One of them, Juhar Dudayev Battalion, had fought alongside Vladimir Zelensky's Ukrainian army. This battalion is named after the first post-Soviet president of independent Chechnya. The battalion, known as the Republic of Ichkeria, works under the command of the Ukrainian army but does not receive any defense budget funding. Adam Osmayev, 41, is the battalion commander. He is a former student of Wycliffe College, a prominent public school in the Cotswold, and a former business student at the University of Buckingham. Since February 24th, the battalion's track record has been remarkable. This Chechen battalion carried out sabotage and reconnaissance operations north of Kiev as the Russians sought to invade the Ukrainian capital before taking part in the recapture of Izium in the country's northeast. Now, this battalion is said to have been in Bakhmut in the eastern Donetsk area for the previous 2 weeks. Chechen fighters praise Ukrainian leadership for not ordering them to take needless risks and attack targets in order to satisfy an impossible timeline or critical dates. This warning was sent specifically to Chechen forces stationed in the Donetsk area. Most Russian generals like placing their forces in unnecessary danger, but Chechen fighters are typically dissatisfied waiting in the trenches, often performing frontline reconnaissance and sabotage. Despite this, experienced Chechen fighters were killed at a lower rate than other groups. Several Chechen fighters say the Ukrainian battle was simpler than their previous conflict in Chechnya, when they had to stay in the mountains for weeks without supplies and make do with stocks of small guns and ammo. Some refer to it as a five-star war. These valiant soldiers are used to dealing with challenging conditions. Chechen militants in the Azov Battalion, on the other hand, coordinate their operations with Ukrainian troops while remaining outside of the formal armed forces and surviving on donations, volunteers, and prizes. The account of a soldier in this battalion is sufficient to adequately convey the scenario. RB is the name of this soldier. RB has lived in Ukraine since 2019. He fled his house to avoid the mercenaries recruited by Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov. One of his brothers was killed in the First Chechen War, while the other was killed in the Second. RB did not inform his family that he was a member of the Azov Battalion. His mom thinks he's in Kiev. RB has already fought against Russia in the Second Chechen War. Thus, he emphasizes the distinction between the Chechen and Ukrainian wars. The region was smaller and the enemy population was higher in Chechnya, but the Soviet tactics were identical. They battled like they did in World War II, but now they use drones to guide artillery strikes. So RB underlines that the situation is even more serious. RB thinks that, like many Chechen fighters, following Ukraine's triumph, he will travel to free his motherland. Another person's story amid the Chechen military is even more extraordinary. A Chechen commander with a $500,000 Russian reward on his head has yet to be located in a bunker beneath the city of Bakhmut, where ferocious combat was taking place. This renowned leader, characterized as the darkest and deadliest warrior among the allies assembled by Ukraine in its battle with Russia, is said to be still fighting for the Ukrainian army on the front lines. As can be seen from these examples, battling Russia has become a way of life for many Chechen dissidents and separatists living abroad, who travel from all across Europe to join a volunteer battalion in Ukraine. For decades, if not centuries, Moscow's periodic violent engagement in Chechen has made the Ukrainian war much too personal. Volunteers warn that unless Ukraine is guarded, the Russian bear would not stop there. In order to disseminate these warnings, the public figure in Chechnya, Anzor Maskadov, the son of the former president of the unrecognized state of Ichkeria, has paid many visits to Kiev since February. He spoke with lawmakers, bureaucrats, and MPs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Parliament as one of the most prominent representatives of Chechnya's separatist administration. He met with warriors from volunteer battalions named after Sheikh Mansour and Jukhar Dudayev, as well as Chechens who served in other Ukrainian military forces formations. This organization boosts the morale and motivation of Chechen warriors in the Ukrainian army. Furthermore, Chechen fighters under Ukrainian direction thought that victory would spark a political crisis in Russia, allowing Kadyrov to be deposed. The most unexpected detail regarding the Chechens fighting in the Ukrainian army was the news report that a Chechen force of 300 persons, known as the Death Squad, began operating in the Donbass region in support of the Ukrainians. These Chechens, who battled against pro-Russians in eastern Ukraine, further indicated that they had been in the region since May 2014, with 70% of them working from various special forces groups. According to recent reports, this elite force is still on the most important front lines of Ukrainian land. In short, among the Chechen fighters fighting in the Ukrainian army are numerous professional soldiers. Despite the fact that Russian leaders Vladimir Putin and Ramzan Kadyrov have labeled Chechens fighting for Ukraine as traitors, these valiant soldiers have consistently stated that they would never give up on their own cause. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out our other videos by visiting our channel and leave a comment down below explaining your point of view about these mercenaries helping Ukraine in the war against Russia. Take care now and see you in the next video.